This video will show you how to use the embedded content that is shipped with every seat of DriveWorks Solo. We're going to start by creating a new project. So click on the New Project button and select the Create a New Project and hit Next. So we will then select Cupboard from the list of templates that is shipped with DriveWorks Solo. We will browse to a location where we want to store the file, and in this particular case I'm going to create a new folder called Cupboard and hit OK. That's added in the name Cupboard by default. We can change it if we want, and then we will hit Finish. DriveWorks Solo now has installed the content ready for use as a standard DriveWorks project. Straight away, we can go and run the project button and fill out the form. This form has been created inside DriveWorks Solo, and we will show you later on in this video how you can change this form. I will start off by putting TD1234 for the quote number and put Adam in the contact name. I will put Timber Direct for the customer and Daniel for the salesperson. I will change the currency to sterling, although in this particular example there are 3 different currency types that you could use. And now I will hit Next. I will now enter the sizes that I would like the cupboard to be driven to from the form. In this particular case, each of the text boxes here are numeric, and if we put in a value that is below or above the minimum and maximum, it will default to the most appropriate size. I will put a height of 400, put in a width of 1500, put a depth of 200, and let's go for a glass door style. And we can see now that the price is updated and it's in sterling as we selected. Now hit Next. I would like to have a look at this cupboard and what it will look like, so I will hit the preview button on DriveWorks Solo. DriveWorks Solo will now copy all those files and put them in temporary locations with temporary names, and will open them up and drive them to match the criteria that we have entered, all based on rules. Once we have finished building that, we can see the finished result being a cupboard according to the sizes we entered on the form. Now we can continue to add some more choices to the cupboard. So I will pick a material of oak, and then I would like some D-style handles. I'm not really happy with the height, so I will go back and make it 600. From this, you can then go to the last form where you'll see a breakdown of prices. You can have a look at the prices and check that you're happy with everything and that the project is within your budget before previewing your model again. You can have a look at the drawing at any point by clicking on the Preview Drawing button, and that will show you the drawing along with the bill of materials that it will fill in. It will rescale the drawing and reposition the views for you, and it will reposition the annotations around the views, all based on the rules that you entered into DriveWorks Solo. We can also at any point have a look at the documents that come with DriveWorks Solo. We can have a look at the covering letter. You can see here that the covering letter has been driven to the right company, Timber Direct, and says Dear Adam, and it's from Daniel, with a unique number in there and with all the correct dates, all based on rules again. We can have a look at the quotation. Again, that's been updated to address the individual, and all the prices have been updated and in line with the requirements that we entered on the form. We can continue changing that until we're happy with the design, and at the point of being happy with the design, we can see the finished prices in this example. And then we can hit Finish. We're presented with an option of what outputs we would like in this particular case. I'm going to go for the default options and click Finish. DriveWorks Solo will then create all of the files in the right locations, with all of the right names based on the rules that are in the project. It will update the drawing with the correct information and redrive those. If we have any detailed drawings to create at this point, this is when they will be created. Here you will be able to see the model in front of you being driven, part by part. Here the shelf has been driven. Next, the post has been driven, and the brake line within the drawing is being repositioned. Here you can see the cupboard base is being driven and automatically repositioned on the page, along with all of the dimensions on the sheet according to the rules that have been entered into the project. Next, you will see all of the dimensions on the cupboard left end being repositioned so that they don't overlap the drawing itself, nor do they overlap one another. The oak material that we applied to the cupboard is being driven and applied to all of the models and drawings. DriveWorks Solo has also created all of the documents, and it's opened a folder for us with all of the results in it. We get some reporting based on everything we have done, and we can check each of those reports to make sure that we have the required values. We have a top-level drawing there. We have a set of models, each individual for this case, and we have our two documents, which is our covering letter and quotation. If we then close that, I will open up the different elements of how that was created. In DriveWorks Solo, things are created in three sections. We capture things, we create some forms, and then we create some rules. So in terms of capturing things, let's open up one of those components. Let's open up the cupboard back by double-clicking on the part in the DriveWorks Solo tree. We can see the part that we have double-clicked on, and in this case, we have two dimensions captured. We have a custom property being driven, which is the material, which DriveWorks Solo recognises as being DW material. We don't for this model have a drawing, and we don't have any replacement models, or we haven't selected any file formats. But any of these can be selected, and if they were, we would get that output every time we drove a new back. If we have a look at the project designer itself, this is split into different sections within the Task Explorer. The form navigation is done by simply dragging and dropping. If we wanted to change the order that we show the forms, then we could do this in this way. Each of the forms then has its own design. Each form has controls in it, and we can change all of the properties for all of the controls and both static and dynamic properties, so that the forms are fully rules driven. So in the form style, and for this picture here, we have a rule based on these selections of the material. If we go into test mode, you can see that if we change each of the options, the rule changes the picture for us. DriveWorks Solo then has a full set of variables built in where intermediate calculations are created to cut down on the amount of work created for implementation. So here there are some rules based on the information going into a covering letter. So every paragraph in the covering letter itself is based on a rule, and we can change each of those rules. DriveWorks Solo also has tables in it. Some of these tables might just be to do with pricing, some might be to do with currency, and these tables can be referenced in the rules with the ability to look up data based on other selected values. We have the documents in here. If we have a look at the covering letter, we can preview this from within inside the project, but we can also edit it, which allows us to change a path of the master, the output file name, the output location, and then all of the information on the documents, including all of the paragraphs. We then have the model rules, and if we drill down and have a look at the shelf, you will see here that we have the model rules for the file name and the path for the configuration. We can also see the two dimensions that we captured earlier, along with a custom property. Moving on to the drawings, if we just browse down to the drawing and we select one of the sheets, we can see that we have a preview of the drawing. As we select each of the views, that gets highlighted, and then we have rules for the custom properties on the drawing, its location and relative path, and then rules for the sheet state, where we can delete a sheet or rename a sheet, the sheet scale, and then the view positions of the various views and sheets. And that's DriveWorks Solo.